What's up, studs and studettes? Welcome to another episode of the Big Stud Podcast. And today might by definition be the most studette woman we've ever had on the episode because of just the amount of places that she thrives and strives and wins. And, we all have our stories. We all have the things that we, put on hold because of the entrepreneur husband or the kids or all these things. And this is an individual that has found a way to make all of that work and also find a way to chase some of her own dreams and her own entrepreneurial endeavors. And so I'm excited to hear her perspective on how she has grown to prioritize, make the time, have the time, and ultimately stay in shape, stay from the outside looking in, a great wife, a great mother. And I hope that you guys can take something from this to put into your own life one way or another. Obviously, Tiff and I have been putting out some really vulnerable, like, husband and wife episodes. And we're grateful to have the opportunity to be able to do that and pour into people. And the response has been really great. And so I specifically went out and tried to find some additional women to bring on the show because we've had a lot of studs, not as many studettes. I mean, obviously I'm a man that just attracts other bearded men. Like, that's just kind of the way that this goes. But I'm excited to see kind of an additional perspective from somebody else that I have grown to look up to and grown to be friends with. So thank you for being on the episode today, Nicole Constantino.
Hello. Thank you, Mike. And Tiff is definitely a studette. She's the number one studette.
I mean, she's the OG. I mean, she survived to even become what a stud or studette is. I mean, she survived a lot and overcame a lot with me over the years to even get to where we are now. So it's been no, and I'm forever blessed to have her, along on this journey. We talk about it a lot, like what her and I have in each other that neither one of us has had a lot in our lives, just somebody that we're open to being fully honest with. And even recently, like even 10 years in, we're like sharing things that we never thought we would want to share. And it's actually brought us closer together. And so, no, I'm definitely blessed beyond belief. That doesn't mean we don't struggle. Doesn't mean we don't fight. Doesn't mean we don't
we all struggle. It's a roller coaster ride. So,
so for anybody who doesn't know, I met your husband, Dan, through Apex, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the beginning, I remember the first conversation I had with him, like, bro, why are you doing like homeowner projects right now? I don't understand. And that was like literally 4 years ago. But so your husband, your wife, you're married, mother.
Yep.
Now entrepreneur, you stay in shape. So like, what's your secret to making it all work together? Before we get into the details of all the things, like, do you have like this secret sauce that you're just like, I stay in shape, me and my husband have fun together, I make time for the kids and all their activities and sports and all the things that go into that? Like, is there a secret that you follow, or is it just
there is no secret? You just have to make it work. I mean, I practice the G code. I'm sure some of you have probably heard of the G code. And you got to wake up every morning and be ready to go and have some gratitude that you're getting out of bed. And I pump myself up every morning. I'm like, I got this. What's going on today? And what are we going to accomplish? But it's tough. I mean, we got 2 kids. I have one daughter that's a boxer and we travel, a special needs daughter with Down syndrome, Dan running a successful business. So we really have to communicate. And sometimes we don't communicate well because we both are trying to succeed at our own business. But it's a teamwork. It's a team. I mean, we have to partner and communicate. I'm sure you and Tiff do too, and figure out what's going on throughout the week. Calendar, we utilize a calendar. I always forget to look at the calendar. And when I
incredible tool when you actually look at it.
I have my own calendar, but sometimes forget to put it on his calendar. But we make it work. We make things work. We're a great team. We've known each other for over 20 years. And we were friends and rode in college, and we just learned each other's love language and try to accommodate where we can.
No, I think that documenting what's coming is so key. Like, even just like getting the kids practices and games and date nights and all the things that go into like looking ahead, because it's so easy, especially as entrepreneurs. Like, I'm booking things sometimes 6-8 months out.
Yeah.
And I want to know, like, I want because I want to prioritize the family, but it's difficult, even like, Everett's coach, like, gave us a 1 week notice on a practice. I'm like, he ain't going to be there. Like, I need more than a week. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
We had that happen this week. Bella, our daughter, got a fight matched Wednesday for Saturday. And it's like, shit, Dan, you're staying home. I'm going to the fight.
yeah.
He ended up coming. So we just make it work. Like, we try to be there for the kids when we can. We're a tag team. So
Well, I think about having proper expectations too. Like, you're not holding each other to this perfect standard
right.
of it's always going to go easy. It's always going to go right. We're never going to be rushing anywhere. Like, that's just not proper expectations to put on yourselves. And
Yeah, right.
that's a big part of it. So what's it like having a boxing daughter? Like, I'm not sexist. I'm not men are better than women, but like watching my daughter get punched in the face is something I just don't know if I could do as a father. So is that like weird? How did that start? I mean, how does a
Well,
female even get into something like that?
I love it. Because I did mixed martial arts. I did
Okay.
Krav Maga, jujitsu, a little bit of Muay Thai, and she just was not good at the team sports and had low self-esteem. And our gym was starting this boxing program and kids program. And out of Krav Maga, jujitsu, and boxing, she fell in love with boxing because it's all she's learning mindset. It's
Mm,
all about her, and she's accountable for what she's got to do if she's going to succeed. So it really gave her confidence. I love it. I'm scared to death when she steps foot in that ring, though. I
yeah.
mean, your knees shake, you're shaking, you losing your voice from screaming, but it's hard to see her get punched in the face, and it's hard to see her lose. I mean, she wins some, she loses some, but
Yep.
she's learning, and it's just building so much confidence.
And she's like 15 now?
14. Yeah,
14?
she's
Okay.
14. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, is
So
this something that she's going to try to like take to the next level at some
uh,
point, or what?
I don't know about that. I think she's going to stay an amateur fighter
Yeah.
because she has her own aspirations to be an entrepreneur. She's following in her daddy's footsteps, and already has her own little business that she started, and
I'm sure
it's
that's a
pretty cool.
blessing. I'm sure that's
Yeah.
pretty cool for Dan to be a
Yeah.
part of.
Yeah.
So,
She's a good kid. She works hard.
kind of changing topics a little bit. So,
Mhm.
something that Tiff and I get asked a lot is like, were we always on the same page about like personal growth and development and excellence and investing in ourselves? And if I remember correctly, like when Dan joined Apex early on, you weren't so sure about it at the beginning. Is that true?
That is so true. I thought it was a cult.
Okay.
I didn't know what the heck he was doing. I thought it was some weird addiction with all these, because I'm the cheerleader in the house. I love the self-development stuff. And then
Yeah.
he's going off every month with his boys club or some cult. Um, and then he finally convinced me to go. And I'm like, fine, I will go. And I loved it. I met you. You were one of
Yeah.
the first people that I met, and you said you belong here.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that. But I actually joined Apex myself, just so I can get my business started and grow. But I love it. I've met some amazing people, and it's great for Dan because he needs the time to go away every month and recharge and
Yes.
get inspired and spend time on himself. I don't go with him every month, but he comes back just in a positive mood, and it's like hitting a reset button.
No, it's definitely something I miss, like having that recharge. I made the decision to get very internally focused because my business exploded last year.
Yeah.
And I made the decision to internally focus last year, and like it's been great and it's worked. And I'm up to 18 employees now, and like we're growing at a
That's
pretty
awesome.
rapid pace. But like I miss that recharge, like that feeling you're describing right now.
Mhm.
I think until you've paid to get in the room, you don't understand why people pay to get in the room. Like you just
No,
physically can't understand it.
right. I didn't understand it. I just thought it was, I didn't even know what I thought it was. He was a different person, but you know what? He changed in such a positive way and has
Yeah.
grown so much. And after me going to that event, our marriage improved so much, because we were on the same page. I was supportive where I really wasn't that supportive, because he always left when the kids were sick or something
There's never a good
crazy was
time to leave with
happening. There's
kids.
leaks in the ceiling, and I'm like, what are you doing? But it's an amazing group. It's really
Well, and
amazing.
it's cool to watch, like, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, like watching couples evolve together.
Hmm.
You know, 'cause it's very common, especially like, so I coach entrepreneurs, and like, so it's very common for the wife to not get it. You know, I coach
Right.
mostly men. You know, for the spouse to not get it or not understand, or when's enough, or like, when does it get to be my turn? Like all those questions that come across. And,
Yep.
you know, I think it's amazing when you see somebody say, well, it's not your turn, it's not my turn, it's our turn to grow, and we're going to figure out a way to do it
Yep.
together. And neither one of us have to put our dreams or success or interest on pause for the other person to be successful. And, you know, sometimes that costs money, right, for support at
Right.
home or with the kids or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
But that investment becomes how you let go of, I don't want to call those responsibilities an anchor, but like when you're saying, I have to be a mom, I have to, you know, I have to do the dishes, I have to do the laundry. So many people say like, this defines my role. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to. Like, Tiff does not
Right.
want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home dad. And we're both very okay with that.
Yeah.
And so it's cool when you see like couples recognize that it can be our time together to grow and evolve and change and
Yeah.
really mature into what we're capable of.
Yeah. We make sure we each have our own time because I need my time and he definitely needs him. So we split gym time in the mornings and putting the kids on the bus. So we take turns with that. We know our days, know our
Yep.
schedule, and he's got his travel schedule. And then I tag along from time to time just to get that recharge myself.
Yep.
But it works well.
No, and I think that's something Tiff and I acknowledge that we've struggled at since we moved, because there was so much new, right? Like new
Yep.
house, new city, new location. We started homeschooling. You know, so much new is like we have not done a good job getting back to like taking our time for ourselves. And it's something that we recognize here, you know, kind of at the end of Q1, like we need to get back to like some time doing things on our own, because it really does make a difference. And like
Yeah.
I struggle with the selfishness side, right? Because like I struggle with I'm here, I'm there, I'm distracted, I'm on content, I'm on stages, I'm at events, you know,
Yeah.
and it feels bad. I feel bad taking like more time to myself, because I may not be here, but that doesn't mean I'm alone, right?
Right.
You know, you're at
Right.
events or you're doing whatever. And so I think it's been something we recognize as something that's important to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've said several times so far today about this new entrepreneurial endeavor for yourself.
Yes.
And so obviously watching Dan grow, I'm kind of curious, like, did watching him make these just absurd dreams come true make you want to say, I can do more too? Was there some borrowed confidence there? Or was this something you always wanted to do?
So it's funny that you say that because I always thought I'd have my own business someday, but I fell in love with I love to help people. So I went down the HR path, and went to school for specifically for human resources. So I actually have a degree in what I'm actually doing, where
Oh,
most
wow.
people
Very
don't.
uncommon. Very, very
So,
uncommon.
but I enjoy connecting with people, and it was actually I never thought about it. I just found an organization, and I've been in HR for over 20 years, but with an organization for 16 years. And I was at that event at Apex and met Sammy Knight, and we were talking HR and people, and he said, "Why are you not doing this for yourself?" And I'm like, I, I don't know. Like he made me think and kind of begin to dream about building my own business. And it took me a year to convince myself. There were some insecurities and just a little bit of afraid because I've been with one company for 16 years, the corporate world. We have
Jeez.
90,000 plus employees, and
I mean,
it's
you were in the
hard.
Kool-Aid. You weren't just drinking the Kool-Aid. You were in the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I am the Kool-Aid. Like I love it.
I am the Kool-Aid. That's awesome. That might be the title of the episode. I don't know yet, but that might be the title of I am the Kool-Aid.
Oh gosh. But yeah, I love my job. And then Dan started having things that would pop up, and he's like, "Are you building your machine?" And I'm like,
That just sounds like
Maybe
Dan, just so blunt. Like, where's your
try
machine at? Come on.
it. Social media, are you posting? Are you doing your G code? And I'm like, yeah, here and there. He's like, you need to get on it. So he's really been my inspiration and my motivator. Just, I was worried. It's hard to step away from a place that you've been with so long. And I still work there until I can really build my business up.
Yep.
It really happened this year, and it's continuing to grow pretty quickly. And I'm gonna have to make that decision here
Yeah.
pretty soon. Pretty
You
soon,
have to decide before you want to that it's time to step away, because it'll never be what it needs to be as long as you're trying to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love it. I get to make my own decisions, really impact small businesses, startup companies. I'm kind of doing things that I didn't think I would be doing on my own. I've always had a team, but it's great making connections with people and um, understanding other businesses and how they operate, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no, and like I said, you'll have to make the decision to go before you really want to, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess let's dig into that side of it a little bit, because
Yep.
small to medium businesses, a lot of times with the handbooks and the policies, procedures, requirements, hiring, onboarding, accountability, firing practices, like, I'm too small, I'll get to that, is typically what you hear,
Yeah.
right? It's like not
Right.
important right now, or not worth the investment right now. So why is that, in your opinion, such a bad mindset to have around the HR side of managing people?
Well, I don't know if it's a bad mindset. I just don't think it's appropriate for someone like you, a CEO or owner of an organization, to have to be in the weeds of the day-to-day crap that you may have to address, because your focus should be on growing the business. So a lot of the companies that I work with, it's an operations person or a finance person trying to manage day-to-day employee relations issues or compliance, and do we have the handbook in place, and oh, I have to hire this person, I forgot they were starting really this Monday. What do I do? Am I prepared? It's like, oh crap, that person's starting tomorrow.
Mhm.
So that's where I come into play, to make sure that they have the right processes in place, policies in place, onboarding material to make it easy. I want to simplify the HR piece so that they can really focus on the operational and growing the business. So,
What are some of the biggest misses you see in the HR side of that? Is it in the onboarding? Is it the handbook? Is it, proper training? Like, where do you see the biggest misses typically happening when you're looking at least in the businesses you looked at so far?
yeah, the ones that I've worked with, and these are usually the startup. They're ready to go. It's just them, and then they start to grow, and they don't take the time to have that handbook for compliance with all the federal and state regulations, and making sure that they're doing what they need to do. Um, Policies. You start hiring more than 5 people, and somebody's going to have some time in attendance. How do you document that? How do you have that crucial conversation with them? I call it a stub your toe or support coach support conversation. How do they have that conversation and either move the person out or fix the problem,
Mhm.
um, and turn the employee around so that they're performing where you need them to. So it's really around the compliance piece of it that companies, they don't like that stuff. And that's where they can get into trouble if they terminate somebody and then they come back and file a lawsuit against you around discrimination or unfair labor practices. So
So
that's what I'm seeing.
the handbook is something I've always kind of been on the fence about, because things change pretty quickly,
Yep,
right?
they do.
And like, keeping up with what's needed and keeping up with what it needs to say, which is why you would need an HR consultant, I appreciate.
That's right.
Right. But like, when you create a handbook at this point, is it printed? Is it a digital thing? Is it something that's like, how do you go through to make sure that it is efficient to keep up to date, but also make it a valuable tool for your company? Because those are two, I think, different things in the grand scheme of
Right,
executing that.
right. Well, I mean, you gotta make it personal too to your company, so it's not all this legal lingo, and that's what I try to do with some of the companies that I've worked with. Um, and it's making sure that you have the federal, the state laws in there, benefit practices, time off practices, and it doesn't have to be printed. You can do it digital. So you can create it and upload it to an employee site so they have access to it. Especially benefits, people want to go back and see what the benefits is. Workers' comp, people don't think about workers' comp until somebody gets injured.
Yep.
And then what do you do? How do you report it? Paying and benefits of workers' comp. So it's good for every organization as they continue to grow to have that. And those are your policies. That's how you manage your people. It doesn't have to be hardcore legal. You can make it friendly and
more like your culture, your tone, your way of delivering information.
Yep. Yeah.
But is that something where like you come in and just know what questions to ask to put into this book? Is there an outline? Like if someone was just like, I want to look into this on my own, like where do you even start to figure out what should or shouldn't be in a handbook?
Well, you could probably search employee handbook and they'll give you kind of an outline on the internet. Just go out and search employee handbook and I'm sure an outline will pop up. But if you're going to customize it to your company, and there's so many federal and state laws that it's different from state to state. It's good to consult with somebody and make sure either get legal advice or somebody in HR that has access to all of those federal and state laws to make it customizable to your city, state, and business.
All right, so I have a question then. So if you have employees in multiple states, what's the state of law that you need to operate by? Is it the state of where the person lives or the state where
you can have like a national, wherever the majority of your employees are, but then you have to have addendums to that handbook related to whatever state your employees are working out of. Like California, it's a completely separate handbook. You almost need two handbooks. The California handbook, they're their own country, right? And then your national or your corporate handbook for all employees. But each state has a little bit of, they have some different local regulations that they follow.
So short answer, you have to consider all things in.
Yes, you do. Yep.
We should probably talk because I got people all over the country. All right. So handbook, important. From the employee management side, what I see a lot of people, and I think you said it perfectly, like afraid to have those crucial conversations, right? Because they wait till like it's so egregious and temperament's so high and emotions are over the top, where like the only reaction is an emotional reaction on both sides, and one person's angry, one person's defensive, nothing actually gets done, right? You don't move anything forward. Like it would have been better just to fire them 6 months ago than to have this conversation today because it wasn't managed appropriately. So how did you coach your team at the level that you 90,000 employees? There's got to be a lot of crucial conversations happening.
Oh,
in a company of that size. But what are some best practices around approaching or documenting? Because I'm big on documenting those conversations to be able to utilize in future reprimand or end up firing people. And then you have the paper trail of I did everything I could to make them successful here, kind of thing. But like, what are some best practices that you coach on or that you believe in? To approach and manage those crucial conversations effectively?
Well, I actually have a couple different methods, different conversations for different situations. So if somebody's behavior is just not where it should be, in the moment coaching is the best. Not in front of people, but even after a meeting, it's have a supporting statement, a coaching conversation on what the person did that they may not be aware of and how it impacted the team, and then support them and coach them up a little bit on how to move forward with that. Everybody should be having those so that you're all coaching each other. But then when it gets real uncomfortable or somebody does something really out of line, and maybe it's an all blowout argument or fist fight, who knows? I've seen them all. But that's a different conversation. And I have different tools to help different leaders and managers kind of get their thoughts on paper. Like you as the owner or manager of that person, you have to take a step back and a deep breath before you're like, you're fired. I mean, some people just are like, you're done. But just have the conversation, hear the employee out. Why did this happen? If it continues to happen, you're no longer going to have a position here. That's pretty direct and blunt,
Yeah.
but I have different models and different tools based on the conversation, and documenting every conversation you have. I always tell everybody, email yourself so it's dated and time stamped, and you can put it in their electronic file if you have an electronic system. How many times you're having a conversation with them about that behavior, or maybe it's attendance. I don't know, whatever that behavior it
Yep.
is, it's documenting it, because at some point you have to pull the trigger. If they're not a representation of your values of your company, then do you really do you really want them to stay with your organization and grow, or do you need to manage them out?
Well, like you
So
said, like you want to have the conversation in the moment to ideally avoid those conversations, right?
right,
You
yeah,
know, I just see
absolutely,
so often people want to like negotiate their standard and not have like to basically is like, you know, the owner or the leader is trying to like, you know, we'll say soothe their own ego or soothe their own
yeah,
immaturity or their own ignorance of the situation. They're like, well, I don't know how, so I'm just gonna hopefully it doesn't happen again. That's not a leadership strategy.
no,
Hoping a bad behavior doesn't happen again is not a leadership strategy. It's the opposite of a leadership strategy, actually.
right.
But you know, I think that's where if you do that, those they tend to just quit because like people don't want to suck at their jobs.
No, they don't. They don't. And if
And so
they
if
don't
you
feel good coming to work every day, they're not going to perform well. So they need to decide, or am I fit? And does this align with my purpose and what I want to do? Or do I need to move on?
yeah, no, I think it's
So
a great
I,
point.
I tell leaders, like, you have to role model the behavior you want to see. Like, people are watching you as the owner of the company, as whatever position you're in, and they're going to model your behavior. So if they're acting out, sometimes we need to look in the mirror and be like, how am I role modeling for my employees? I always tell my leaders, you have to role model the behavior you want to see. You have to connect with your employees and have meaningful conversations, giving feedback on what's working well, what's not working well, so there's not those blow ups, and you can hold them accountable, and then just involve them in company decisions where you can, so they feel like they're actually a part of your purpose.
Well, and that can happen at any size company, whether it's 3 people or 300 people, like what you just
Right.
described. Like, don't minimize that part of the process because you don't have a big company. Like people still want to be involved no matter the size of the company is, which is really like you said this earlier, and I think it's just great. I am the Kool-Aid, right? Like you're controlling the
Yes.
culture of the company to an extent, right?
Right.
So
Right.
how do you balance like maintaining the CEO's vision and passion for an organization with keeping it in line with policies and state and local government stuff and rules and regulations and laws? Because like those are not always going to align, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
how do you balance that? How do you keep, because like that's the Kool-Aid, right? Like the passion, the mission, the
Yeah.
vision, the
Right.
core values with regulation. That's the recipe of the Kool-Aid, right? And if you
Yeah.
have too much sugar, you're gonna rot your teeth out. And so,
You're right.
and so like how did you balance that in such a big organization, but also, you know, as you're going into these startups and these smaller companies, you know, even working with your husband now and his, you know, I don't want to call it a startup, but it's basically a brand new style company doing the
Right.
same thing at a completely different scale, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep those two things working together to make sure that like it's the culture still has a personality,
Right.
there's still flavor to the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
but we're not too far out of bounds that we're liable for audits or risks or lawsuits or all the things that go into, you know, running a business. So how do you balance those two
Yeah,
things?
I mean, there's a couple things. One, it's your values and the purpose of your company. So you need to hire the right people that are going to follow you, and you need to role model that behavior. Everybody should be accountable for their job, right? That's what's going to protect you from all these state, federal, local laws. It's if you have an employee or somebody that is not supportive of their values, whether it's dignity and respect or teamwork, and they're constantly not modeling those behaviors, they're not a fit for your organization. And then you're going to have to go down through your policies, and after coaching them, it's not working. how do I move this person out of my organization that is
Mhm.
not going to resign on their own, and do it in the right way. Everybody's human, we make mistakes, but if you're not learning from those mistakes and continuously a behavioral issue or not following your company policy, we need to have a difficult conversation. So, I mean, it's a good balance. I mean, you have all those federal, state, that handbook to protect you and your organization, but you also have to do the right thing for you and that employee in the situation at hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think like operating by values is the underlying filter that like
Yep.
that's the first filter. Like if it doesn't
Yep.
pass that filter, whether it's right or wrong for the legal system, you already messed up, right?
Right.
Like you've already steered the ship in kind of an unhealthy direction. But I
Right.
think, like you said, hiring the wrong person and keeping them too long is one of the most detrimental things you can do to your company, specifically on what we're talking about here, blending the mission, vision, and core values
Right.
with policies and procedures. The wrong person, you can't even measure how impactful that is.
Right. And you know what? No, most organizations, they don't want to have the policies. You don't need 100 policies. You just need a handful of basic policies, how you're going to handle situations. And if you don't follow the values of the organization and do what you need to do, you don't have a place here. And
When
they help you work them out.
when ideally, if they have this, if they share the values with you, like they can read between the lines on the policies that are not documented, right?
Right.
Like they
Right.
just like, okay, if these are our values, like whether it's legal or not, I shouldn't be doing this other thing, right? Like
Yeah.
taking advantage or stealing or shaving hours or whatever, like all things you shouldn't be doing,
Right.
regardless of policy and procedure. So, but
Yeah.
let's talk to that for a second, because finding quality people is
Yep.
just nationally talked about as a challenge. And you talked a little bit about the benefit packages and certain things and culture and mission, I think all go into being the attractive business opportunity or the employment opportunity for a high performer. But like, what have you seen that differentiates people the most when it comes to recruiting people that align or recruiting people that can help get them to the next level?
I mean, you have to have a good screening process in place, like any organization. There's right now across the entire country, it's hard to find people for certain positions. They just don't exist, or you have to get creative with it. But you have to have a good screening process, whether that's phone screening individuals before they come in, the behavioral based questions that align with your values. That's where people are missing. They're not asking the right questions. They're like, oh, Mike seems like a pretty good guy. It's a great conversation
Mhm.
today. I want to hire him.
Yeah.
And then they forget about you have things in common. And then you they come first day and you have to teach them from square,
Everything.
like, yeah, everything. They don't know anything because you didn't
Yeah.
ask the question. So you got
Yeah.
to have some sort of tool or guide of behavioral based questions and really stick to them. You could still have conversation and get to know each other, but you should have some knockout questions that you want to ask to make sure that yes, they align with my values, yes, they align with my mission, um, and then some questions to make sure that behavioral based questions that you can understand how they're going to perform for you based on how they performed in other jobs. But that's the main thing. And then once they get here, it's onboarding them and being
Yeah.
ready for them.
Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast,
It's a
probably.
whole nother
Yeah.
conversation.
But specifically, like around the conversation of attracting good people, like, is there
Yeah.
specific types of benefits that are most sought after right now by high performers, or like, let's just say good quality people? Because like for a small startup or a small business, like
Yeah.
they may not see the value in, let's just say 401k match or, health benefits or things like that. So are there certain benefits package options that are more like that people should be looking at, but maybe aren't?
Yeah, it really depends on the individual. The younger generation, they're not real concerned about benefits right now. They just want money. They just want to make money and advance within their career. At least that's what I'm seeing in the organizations that I work with. But those that are kind of settled and this is going to be their career, they're looking for the healthcare coverage, not fully paid by the employer. I don't think many organizations fully pay for benefits. The employees paying a portion of that, but health benefits, medical, dental, those are some of the key ones. Parental leave for the larger organizations when I'm having a baby, I get time off. And what about dad or your partner or whoever that is, your life partner, that parental leave? There's there's different quirky
Yeah. Yeah,
benefits
it
in
also
every
depends on your work
organization.
environment, right? Like I
Yeah,
operate a very fluid, like freedom-based work environment. Like, 85% of my employees are virtual. So like I'm not over there hour by hour, minute by minute. Where like, so if
right.
you're in an office, we're supposed to be there 40 plus hours a week on location. It's a little bit of a different benefit
Yeah,
package, I think, than like an organization like mine that has pretty much time freedom as long as the requirements are being met, right?
right.
And
Yep.
so I think like that also the work environment I think plays a big role in like what type
It's
of benefits are
huge.
going to be sought after as well.
Wellness is a big topic of discussion. Mental health, having resources for challenges that maybe your employees having at home, outside of work. That workplace flexibility is key for a lot of
Yeah.
people. The work from home, especially after COVID, people
Yeah.
want that flexibility. They want their time off, and when they have their time off, they want to be off and enjoy it and relax,
Wouldn't
you
that be
know?
nice?
It
Wouldn't that
I
be
know. And
nice?
in some organizations that's not always
Ugh.
easy to do.
Well, it's tough in our world, and like I say, it's tough. Maybe it's just the standard I've set personally is that, like when our clients need us, it's typically some form of dire situation, right? We're business coaches.
Right.
We do one-on-one coaching. And I mean, and so like we're the point of contact that somebody calls when there's an emergency. And so like, it's hard to be like, hey man, I know like your business is at risk right now, but like I'm at the beach. Can we talk next week? Like typically, at least personally, I don't
Yeah.
like that as the
Yeah.
variable. So like I struggle, but that's my own personal challenges,
I
right?
struggle
But
with I struggle with the same thing. If there's
uh,
something going down, I'm like, I check in every day. I can't not
yeah.
check in with my email and see what's going on.
I
But
mean, that's a whole different topic, but definitely like I think most leaders could do a better job at vetting the situation for severity before just like jumping in to solve the
right.
problem, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yep.
just because it sounds like an emergency to them doesn't mean the problem can't wait till next week.
Right.
Yeah, so sometimes with clients, I just ask a couple of questions. I'm like, bro, that's not as big of a deal as you're making it. I promise you'll be okay. We'll talk next week.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is an acceptable leadership, we'll say tactic to protect your time and create boundaries.
Right.
So what are you most excited about right now as you go into this endeavor? What's the name of your entity?
So it's HR Power 10.
Okay.
So HR obviously for human resources, and then I chose Power 10. I just it's in my head and ingrained. I was a rower in college, and it's the one thing I can really brag about because I have national titles and am in the Hall of Fame for my college. And anytime we tried to make a shift or get ahead of the boats, whatever boats we were racing against, we did Power 10s. So like everything I do, it's like 10 more minutes, or just give me 10 more minutes or 10 more seconds, or I'm going to power 10 through this. So
I
that's
love it.
kind of how I came up with that name, Power 10, just to get ahead when you
So
need to
in
get ahead
rowing,
is
does that
the
mean like a
tagline.
powerful 10 strokes? Is that what that means in
Yeah,
the
a
rowing
Power
space?
10 is either shifting into a steady state row, which is pretty hard, or Power 10 to get ahead and try to pass a boat.
Got it.
So we have to take it up as one team consistently. And it's pretty challenging, but
So a funny story that
it's always stuck with me.
I think you might find amusing. So my only rowing experience, I was on a bachelor party and we decided to sign up for a dragon boat race.
Oh gosh, I've done that before.
Okay. And there's like what, 20 people on a boat?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So we went out drinking all night the night before. We drove an RV 2 hours to this location, showed up with nothing, and we rode all day with 7 people.
Oh my God. Well, the dragon boat is a different type of rowing.
Oh, I know it is, but like
hard.
It's and like we're just paddling like you wouldn't believe. And just it was
Oh gosh.
there was like I think there was 7 of us total on a 20-person boat, and we won a couple races.
Yeah.
Mostly because like you're gonna like when you have 20
Didn't
people
you
and you're
throw
not
up after drinking?
I mean, like, we don't need to get into the details. Okay. We don't need to go there. Okay. It wasn't
My
the shine.
gosh.
It was not the height of my athletic career, if that's what you're asking.
Oh,
But no, it was because like people have tents and it's like a whole day. They have food.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
had nothing. We did not know what we were signing up for. We just thought it was a great idea.
Oh yeah.
And so we showed up with nothing but bathing suits that day. And like we were wildly underprepared.
Oh my gosh.
But that was
That's
funny.
awesome.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So what are you most excited about as far as your business goes right now? And like, what's the next step for you?
It's well, the next step for me is a timeline when I'm going to cut the cord.
You just gotta
Which
pick
is
it.
soon.
Just pick the
Which is
date.
soon. So these are conversations I need to have with Dan. I mean, the past week things are starting to really fall into place.
Okay.
So that's what I'm excited about, just to continue to grow, looking to add another person to help me out.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited to cut the cord and then just go
So
all
do you have
out.
your handbook in place yet?
Do I have a handbook in place?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course
I do.
you do. You don't have an employee
Of course
yet.
I do. I'm HR.
Of course you do.
We're detail oriented. We document. That's why people need me to
Does the company
document
you
for
work
them.
for know that this is coming? I'm just kind of curious.
No, they don't.
No.
They don't.
Is
I
that
mean,
hard for you to be like I gotta imagine at this point, like you're a pretty major player in that department for that company
yeah,
after that
I
long.
support one big area of the organization, and it's I'm just trying to get the current team ready. So when I do pull the trigger, they are ready, but
It's never
it's
easy though. It's
it's
never
never
easy.
easy. It's been my life. I go in and I'm there in the evenings and rounding overnights, and it's a part of me. But I've learned so much that I'm ready to go out on my own so I can make my own decisions and move things along pretty quickly. Because when you're with a large organization, you have to get everybody's buy-in, and
Yep.
everything takes so long. It's the corporate world, which it's great, but I'm ready to just help
Yeah, I mean it's
other people.
stable because it's slow moving, right?
Yeah,
Like that's what
right.
makes it stable is like
Yeah.
there's nothing's gonna sink it too quick because you can't make
No,
decisions that fast. Just
no, you can't. You
and
can't.
so that's the benefit for some, but also the downside for people like yourself who are creative thinkers and want to move at a little bit of a different pace.
Yeah, there's so many people that I can help, that I'm just ready to jump out there. So
So if somebody's listening right now and is interested in like learning more about what it looks like to bring you in as an HR consultant, I'm kind of asking from a selfish perspective as well. What does that look like? Like how does somebody connect with you? How do they learn more? What does that process look like?
I'm on social media, Facebook under my name, Nicole Constantino. Um, it's Costantino. Everybody calls it Constantino. I had to tell our pastor when he married us, I'm going to cost my husband a lot of money. It's Constantino. So
That's
he got it.
funny.
He got it right for the ceremony. But yeah, so out on Facebook, I'm out there under Nicole Constantino. Instagram, you can find me under my name. hrpower10.com is my website. You can also find me out there, shoot me a message, and we can touch base.
No, we'll definitely have to get you in front of one of our programs to kind of just give some help and some advice. And
Yeah.
anytime we bring somebody in, it tends to turn into some form of somebody hiring you. So but no, absolutely. So I really, Nicole, I appreciate it so much today. This was awesome conversation.
Thank
Like I
you.
said, from the outside looking in, Dan and yourself have been people that Tiff and I have, enjoyed watching win, and it's been really cool to see you guys progress and grow. And I've missed seeing you, every month in Dallas, but it's been cool. It's been cool to watch you guys win because it seems like you guys are having a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We absolutely do.
That's
So.
awesome. Well, anything else that we can share today? Any final points?
Oh, no, just if you need HR help, you know where to find me, touch base, and happy to have a conversation. But I appreciate you, Mike. You've done some amazing things. Love listening to your podcast. Love
Well,
the
now you're
dad
on
jokes
it.
that you
Now
share.
you're on it. Look at you.
I know. It's I love the dad jokes. It's great.
One day, well, I'm gonna go on a streak of getting a couple in a row, but so far
Yeah.
I'm like 3 for 40. I've gotten correct on the Ask Mike Anything. But that's been a fun segment of the episode just to like get more, feedback from the audience. And so I'm not sure when this episode is going to release, but we just recorded some for the Ask Mike Anything where we actually got the people who asked the questions to send a voice note in. So we actually play them asking their question, which is pretty.
That's pretty cool.
I'm excited because it actually gives more context. If you ask a question, it's typically a question. Now that we're getting them to actually say it verbally, they're actually putting more context to the question, which makes it substantially easier for us to understand the details. So if you have one, don't tell it to me now, send it to me.
Okay.
And we'll get it thrown into an episode because it's been cool to see like people asking it via voice note because it gives more context to the situation. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing your HR Power 10 take life. Yeah. And I'm gonna be checking in on you. Like we got to pick that date. Nicole, it's time to pick the date.
I know. I have one in mind.
It's never gonna get easier.
I know. Yep.
It's just not.
Yeah.
So pick a date.
I don't have the exact date, but I am targeting June. So I hope Dan is ready.
It can't be his decision. He ain't ready. Well, thank you so much.
I'll do what he did. He called me at work one day and he said, I just quit my job. And I'm like, congratulations.
Just tell him Mike Claudio told you to.
Okay.
Send them to me. Awesome. Right. Well, Nicole, good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing it come to life. And thank you so much for today.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll see you.